What if I told you that a scrawny kid from a tiny village with no plumbing, a man who didn't speak a word of English until he was 21, became one of the richest men on the planet? Not by luck, not by inheritance, but by sheer relentless force of will. He knew he was not a product of his circumstances, he was a product of his decisions. By age 25, he was already a millionaire. By 78, he joined the Billionaires Club. This isn't a movie, this is the real life story of Arnold Schwarzenegger. This is how a poor immigrant became a global icon, a political leader, and a financial titan. Stick around because this blueprint might just change your life. July 30th, 1947, the world was recovering from war. In the tiny Austrian village of Thal, a boy was born into poverty. This was a world without refrigerators, without telephones, and often without hope. His father was a strict police chief, a man who had been a member of the Nazi party who ruled the household with an iron fist. But young Arnold had a vision. He saw a magazine cover of a bodybuilder named Ray Park. Ray Park wasn't just a champion, he was an actor. He had played Hercules and he had made money from it. At that moment, something clicked. He saw that if he became a champion in bodybuilding, it would open doors. He didn't just want to be a bodybuilder, he wanted to use bodybuilding as a vehicle to get to America, to get into the movies, to get into business. He was obsessed. He trained relentlessly, often pushing through excruciating pain. At just 19, he used his prize money to buy a failing gym in Munich and turned it around. And at 21, he packed his bags and moved to the United States. He landed in America with a thick accent, a chiseled physique, and a hunger that most Americans couldn't comprehend. He came over there like a dried out sponge, trying to absorb everything that he could about business. While most immigrants were just trying to survive, Arnold was studying the system. He noticed something about the American people. As he famously said, they never knew how to use the system. They complain and complain. I am always seeing Europeans coming over, making money and investing. He started bricklaying business with a friend. He was making good money, but he didn't spend it on cars or parties. He saved $27,000 and borrowed another $10,000 to buy a 6-unit apartment building. He lived in one unit, rented out the other 5, and used the rent to pay the mortgage. This was the start of his empire. While other bodybuilders were spending their prize money on tattoos and nightclubs, Arnold was buying real estate in Southern California. He traded up. He sold this 6-unit for a 12-unit building, and then a 36-unit building, and then a 100-unit building. He was taking advantage of a magic decade in real estate where buildings he bought for $500,000 were worth $800,000 a year later. By 1972, the combination of his rental income, property appreciation, and his mail-order fitness businesses pushed his net worth over $1 million. He was 25 years old. He was a millionaire, and he hadn't even starred in a single major movie yet. This wasn't greed, this was freedom. By having money in the bank, he could walk into any audition, any negotiation, and not be desperate. Of course, the movies made him famous. He churned out around 50 films that made $5.5 billion at the box office. But here's the secret most people miss. Arnold didn't just act in movies. He treated them like business deals. Take the 1988 comedy Twins. The studio was nervous. They didn't want to pay him his usual fee. So Arnold took a gamble. He told them, forget the salary, give me a percentage of the gross. The movie was a massive hit and Arnold ended up walking away with over $40 million. He famously said it became such a historic deal that the studio would never ever make that deal again. He always looked at it as what is the best way to make the most money, not the highest salary, the most money, there's a difference. And while he was making movies, he was still learning. In 1979, he took correspondence courses and earned a BA in Business and International Economics. He understood that the real money wasn't in the paycheck, it was in the ownership. After conquering bodybuilding, Hollywood, and even becoming the governor of California, Arnold didn't stop. He took the massive income from his movies, estimated at around $500 million before taxes, and he went to work. He put his money where his mouth was. He invested in commercial real estate. He owns a piece of the Eastern Town Center in Columbus, Ohio, and equity in the Waldorf Astoria Hotel in Los Angeles. He owns properties in Denver, Santa Monica, and Venice. He was an early investor in Google's Series A funding round back in 1999. He bet on Starbucks in the 1990s and still holds shares in the coffee empire. But his biggest financial windfall came from a little-known investment firm called Dimensional Fund Advisors (DFA). His stake in DFA alone is estimated to be worth nearly $500 million today. According to Forbes, about 65% of his entertainment earnings went to taxes and fees. But his investments, they kept growing. In 2025, Forbes officially recognized Arnold Schwarzenegger as a billionaire. At 78 years old, he had achieved the ultimate financial status. So, what can we learn from a man who went from a village without plumbing to a billionaire? It's not just about lifting weights or making movies, it's about mindset. The mind is the limit. As long as the mind can envision the fact that you can do something, you can do it. Arnold didn't just dream of being an actor, he dreamed of being a successful businessman who happened to act. He saw America not just as a land of opportunity but as a system to be mastered. He didn't put all his eggs in one basket. He used his fame to get the money, and he used the money to buy assets that generated passive income, real estate, stocks, and private equity. And most importantly, he never stopped learning. He was reading business books while filming Conan the Barbarian. He was getting a college degree while competing for Mr. Olympia. He was studying the stock market while governing California. You have to have a clear vision, you have to have a plan, and you have to be willing to work your ass off. There is no magic pill. Arnold Schwarzenegger became a millionaire at 25 and a billionaire at 78 because he refused to be just one thing. He was a bodybuilder who became a businessman, an actor who became an investor, politician who remained a student. He turned his limitations into his greatest strengths, and if he can do it, so can you.